And action. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whale Nerds Podcast. This is episode number 109. My name is Slater. I'm here with Adam and Caitlin.
What's up?
Hello.
And we also have a very special guest that we've been trying to get on the podcast for like 2 years. He's super booked up. His name is Chase Dekker.
I thought you had this whole extravagant thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
we can't dive into it too soon. People are going to get freaked out. They know how much of a boss he is at all these different things.
Okay, well, let's do a quick intro to Chase, and then we'll let him follow up with any information that he wants to add. But Chase is born and raised in Monterey, California. He attended college in Washington at Wazoo, Washington State University, for those of you that are not from the Pacific Northwest, where he studied organismal biology and zoology. After college, he lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and had Grand Teton and Yellowstone National Parks right on his front door. But now he calls Monterey area home again. He's been traveling all over the world, guiding photography trips. For many years, you can regularly find him in Moss Landing, going out with sanctuary cruises. And his photography has been published all over the world, including some really cool art in the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C. Chase, thank you for being on our podcast.
I'm happy to be here. I'm not happy to be a cougar. I'm a Western Washington Viking.
What? Your website says Washington State.
Oh, Western Washington.
Oh my God!
No, you gotta change your
and tell her to fix your website.
Get that website corrected, because I totally thought you were a cougar.
No, I can't be a cougar. I can't be a coug.
Oh no!
No.
This is what I get for just going for it off your own website.
Monterey, likes whales, often shoots photos, and that's it. You know, that's my.
He's a photographer.
Yeah, it's the most important.
Question is, has he ever photographed a cougar though?
Oh no, I haven't. See, that's why I can't be a cougar.
Oh, that's why he can't be a cougar.
Chase doesn't really even take pictures anymore anyway, so it's just kind of retiring.
Kind of retired.
Full-time salmon
now.
Full-time salmon fisherman. I gotta tell you, Chase, I think the money's in the photography, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. Happy to finally be here, guys.
Woohoo!
Woo!
You know what? I have a correction. I'm looking at your website right now. It says Western Washington University right in my face. I don't know how I don't know how I messed that up this morning.
Taylor.
Western Washington University.
Caitlin starts drinking really early on her days off, so I mean,
Jeez.
It was a joke. You guys can see her face. It was.
If you're watching the YouTube, not all the people that listen to the podcast.
Oh shoot, they won't know that I held up a big sign that said it was a joke.
Oh no. Anyways, sorry about that, Chase.
It's okay. It's okay.
What?
Forgiven.
Is there anything you would like to add to your background that we missed?
Besides I like the Whale Nerds background podcast. Looks really cool.
No, the background info on you.
You.
No. I think you covered it. You know, good enough for now.
Oh man. Okay, so you've been to all these amazing places. You grew up in Monterey, but when did you first start photographing wildlife? Like as a little kid, or was that something that happened later?
No, I mean I did start photographing wildlife. Yeah, I mean definitely when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, I had a first little film camera, photographed a lot of whales here in Monterey Bay and other wildlife that we'd go see as well. And then it didn't really get into it more seriously until about high school. Once high school and college, that's when things started to pick up a little bit more. But been having a camera a long time.
Nice.
And was it always was whales the first thing you were into? Like obviously growing up in Monterey, that's probably the easiest accessible animal. But
I don't know, those deer in PG are pretty easy to photograph.
What do you mean? This guy sees bobcats without even trying. Clearly, you guys just walk out of your house and see them.
That's
no,
true.
I mean, whales were definitely first. You know, and I've loved whales since literally I can remember. There was never a moment where I was like, oh, now I like whales. It's just like as soon as I can remember life, it's like, oh, I like whales. Like always like whales. But you know, there was a lot of us stuff photographed here. We had a lot of yards with a lot of deer, birds. I mean, squirrels, just anything. Just, photograph stuff right in the backyard, just to start shooting stuff. And then we'd go on trips. We'd go on other whale trips and other spots when I was a kid, and bring the camera on those. Whether it was Hawaii or Alaska, anything like that. So, just again, as far back as I can remember, whales have always been the primary focus.
Did you do like photography classes at school or anything?
Not really. I did in high school. I did take an AP photography class, but truthfully, it was senior year and it was the last kind of slot of the day, so we kind of skipped it every single day. Because she pretty much was like, you can either sit in here and work on Photoshop, or if you're out, just make sure you're photographing. So people just were technically always out photographing working on Photoshop. So
You
no,
were,
I
like,
never took a photography
taking
course.
selfies.
Just did everything online.
Nice. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Go out, hang out with your friends, take a selfie, be like, well, it's part of the class.
Pretty much, right? Given the class today.
Actually, did they
Were
even have those
selfies
on
were selfies
your-
a thing back then? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. They're telling us we're old.
I know. What does that
It's
mean?
so rude.
Were selfies a thing? Back
The
in
mirror
2000?
photo. It was the
And
mirror
It
photo.
was on the LG flip phones. Boom.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, right.
Actually, I didn't have one of those.
We had iPhones. There were
had a
iPhones back in
sidekick.
2010. Selfies were a thing. I believe selfies were a thing.
for sure, but you actually had the phone in it. It was just
Yeah.
like in the mirror.
The front facing camera thing didn't come along for a long time.
No. Mm-mm.
Then
No.
you'd have to like hold your arm super far away and like try and
Exactly. You had to
So
line it up.
funny.
You didn't know where you were looking.
yeah, exactly. Selfies were a whole nother level back then. Like, you really had to like know what you were doing.
Right. Exactly.
So would you say you had the love for animals first and then you implemented photography, or did you like the aspects of photography and decide to shoot animals?
No, definitely the love for animals first. I've always loved animals of all sorts. I mean, I remember I've been trying to find for a long time. I remember we used to have like my parents bought me like a VHS tape of like whales and dolphins, and it was like an hour-long show kind of made for kids about whales and dolphins. And I would watch that like daily, just all the time. I'd go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. I'd do the sleepovers there. I'd sit in front of the little, I don't know if you guys have been in the aquarium, but next to the otter tank, they have a little screen, a little TV, and they've been running the exact same like reel since they opened in the 80s. And I would sit and just watch that like the entire time. Like my mom would be like, you want to go see the otters? Like, no, I just want to watch this. I just want to watch I want to wait for the elephant seals to show back up. So
The screen by the cafe or like the big theater?
yeah, no, the cafe. Yeah, like when
Yeah.
you go to the cafe, the otters on the left, that little screen on the right, I'd sit and watch that all day. Like, because we went to the aquarium all the time. So I didn't care
Yeah.
about going and seeing the other stuff. I just wanted to watch the screen because, we're millennials. We're addicted to television. So,
You
What's on the-
are.
What is
You
on the
are.
screen?
right.
What
Right?
is on the screen?
It's just like a little video that repeats.
I know,
Yeah.
but like about otters?
No, like the Monterey Bay life, like elephant seals, whales.
Oh, it shows all the stuff out there.
I'll take you there and
Oh.
we'll sit there and we'll watch it. We'll spend
Yeah, let's just do a
$70 to go to
sleepover
the
there.
aquarium.
We
Huh?
need to go see the new deep sea exhibit.
I want to go so bad.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. I want to see that. I want to see that really bad.
That's
Okay,
pretty cool.
we'll go do that. Right after this. They're
Isn't
still
the
open.
aquarium closed?
I know people at the aquarium. I was a volunteer. I'll just text people and say, "Can you let us in? We want to see
After hours.
after hours viewing." Exactly. We'll post about it on the Whale Nerd podcast. We'll bring a bunch of traction. Right.
Oh no. They
Yeah.
don't need our help at all with social
No.
media.
So
No,
when was it
act-
that?
I actually have told people, to be completely honest, I don't know if this is the greatest thing to say, but because Adam brought it up, I actually don't really love photography by itself. Like if it wasn't for animals, like I don't like photography. People are like, do you want to do wedding photography? Do you want to
Yeah,
do
I
sports
agree.
photography as a living? Like, no, like I don't like photography. I don't want to read about photography or cameras or stuff. Like I like wildlife photography, nature photography, but photography, not so much. Whales, animals, that's where it's at.
I completely agree. It's like people are like, "Oh, you're a wildlife photographer." Like all my friends when I was graduating college, they were like, "Can you take portraits of us and like grad photos?" And I'm like, "I have no interest in that. Like zero. I
Absolutely.
don't care how much you pay me. I don't want to do that."
It's something I feel so guilty about too, because people because you have all this professional equipment and they see it. Like I bring it with me when I go places just in case a random bear comes out of the alley, even if it's in Huntington Beach. It's like you want to have your camera with you, right? And then I feel like whenever like a family member sees it, it's like, oh, do you want to come take pictures of our anniversary photo? I'm like, I'm probably gonna mess them up. Like I don't know what I do. I'll be shooting it too fast or something,
Yeah, you need to bump your shutter speed to 1/3, 200.
So when Chase, when did you start to feel, or like, when did you start taking photography like serious or taking it to like a professional level?
Probably more of a professional level. Let me think about that again. When would that have been? Probably at the very end of high school. We were going on more kind of like, I don't know, exotic trips to other countries and other continents. We were taking photos. And then with that, getting to college, I was like, well, is this something I want to pursue? I wasn't really sure. But when I would kind of send photos off and they were starting to get recognition, a few of them were getting published in magazines and, like they were winning some awards. I was like, oh, well, maybe I can actually do this. And as we got into college and then up in Washington, I was doing more local stuff, going out a lot, going out in the San Juans a lot more and, Wyoming, just anywhere, wherever I could get. And that started to build more and more. And then when I started getting the first few sales, print sales and licensing sales, or just licensing requests, whatever you want to call it, that's when I was like, all right, this is getting much more serious. So then to really explore that, that's when right after college, we moved to Wyoming 2 weeks after I graduated to Jackson Hole, because I was like, where could you be, where could you live anywhere better but Jackson Hole to be a wildlife photographer? I mean, some of the biggest legends live there. I mean, you are, right where there's animals at your doorstep. I could just drive around all day photographing stuff. So when I moved there, that's when it really just accelerated and then just took off.
And when did you start running your first trips to either teach photography or just guide trips? Was that
In Wyoming? So my first year in Wyoming, because working as a guide there, I, as I was guiding around for different companies, people would come on and I would be like, oh, I'm taking photos, and I'd start selling it, send them the photos, the company would use them. Like when you go into Jackson, a few of the stores still have my photos printed up in the windows when I lived there. So it's like, I was doing it for them, I was doing it for people. And then by the end of my time in Wyoming, I was saying, hey, if anyone, I got a CUA, a certified user authorization permit. And I was, hey, if you just want to come out on like a private trip, go around, look for bears and take photos, let's do that. So people were starting to message me. I'm like, hey, well, we want to go out for a day or two. So then that's when I was starting to take people out and doing that. And then Monterey, when I came back here, that's when we started to do more like international trips. Like, oh, let's take people wherever we can, so that's when
So in the parks, when you're working as a guide, you're like a naturalist guide for like a tour company and then you were doing photos, or like how was that set up?
Right. So when I moved to Jackson Hole, I got a job working for a couple different tour companies, where I'd take people out into Grand Teton, Yellowstone, drive them around, walk them around, show them the animals, thermal features, whatever it was. And I also worked for the Jackson Hole Wildlife Film Festival because I figured, I mean, what a great spot, right? I mean, you're bringing in a lot of talent, you're bringing all the people making these wildlife films, Jane Goodall, Bill Nye. I mean, all these people are, coming in through the film festival. So it's like, all right, that's a good place to make connections and meet people as well that are in the industry. It's actually through the Jackson Hole Wildlife Film Festival that I met a bunch of Nat Geo photographers as well, because we had an event over in Boston and there were a bunch of Nat Geo photographers, BBC filmmakers, everything over there. So it's like, just network away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, on the tours, on the trips, it's just like I'm driving around. It's like, oh, there's a bear. You guys watch it. I'm gonna get a photo of it for us. And then right after the trips went in, I'd get in my car and I'd go right back out, find the same animal, and just keep shooting. So I was on average, I was literally in the parks 6 days of the week when I lived there. Like on average, I would maybe have 1 day a week where I wouldn't go out, but overall, it's just out every single day.
You said you were taking the snowmobiles out, right? You told me that one time.
Yeah. So in winter, I was a snowmobile and snow coach guide. So I would.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was super fun. Except the snowmobiles were terrifying because, we would get out of our summer fall season in October, and then November we had to go through a 2-week training course on safety, emergencies, like rescue, frostbite, heat, so everything, just whatever could happen. And then we'd get early access so we could start going into Yellowstone, because Yellowstone would close in October, early November, and then it wouldn't open until December 15th. So for about a month, we would have early access to go take the snowmobile, snow coach. We would be driving around Yellowstone all by ourselves. Like there literally would be no one in the park, just have the whole place to ourselves. When we start guiding people in winter, it was actually terrifying because 90% of the people we would take snowmobiling never been on a snowmobile. So they're going 40 miles an hour. in negative 20 degrees, passing bison, passing, cliffs. And there were a lot of accidents. I mean, it's one of the reasons I moved back to California, because I couldn't take it. I mean, we had people running into trees, people snowmobile catching on fire, people tripping on ice, people getting chased by bison.
Sorry, I brought up the snowmobile.
Frostbite.
Yeah.
What?
I thought you liked to take it out to photograph wildlife. I didn't.
Sorry for bringing
Catch on fire. It's a whole nother level.
Oh no.
What?
Well, we would when we had days off, we could, get the permit. We could take the snowmobiles in the park. Like those were fun. The tour days were still fun, but it was a lot of work.
Just stressful.
Yeah, exactly. It was stressful because on a boat, it's like there's the naturalists, the captains. You have a team. It's California, right? It's kind of nice. There, it'd be me and 10 people, like just 10 passengers, no other help. So I'm responsible for looking at 10 snowmobilers behind me. So when I could go out and by myself, oh my God, that was so much fun. Like take the snowmobile, go find the bobcats, the wolves. That was the best. But the guiding, a little sketchy at times. Not gonna lie, a little sketchy.
It's pretty crazy. Do you think you have like a set of photos or like a particular photo that stands out to you in your eyes, either from Yellowstone or from the ocean, or like, do you have that one photo? Because I feel like I have probably like 4 or 5 photos that are like, okay, those are like the photos I'm most proud of. Do you have similar ones?
I think, yeah, right. I mean, I assume all of us photographers have those ones where it's like, even if the public doesn't agree, for us, they're that much more special, right? Because it's like ones, every time you're the photographer, you remember the smells, the air temperature, where you were, how much effort it took you to get. And I have a few shots that I'm just drawn to. Like one I've always gone to, that's one of my favorites. I have a shot of 2 moose leaving a meadow, with mountains in the background, clouds. Like everything came together. Like it's just a shot that, like, I've only again printed a few photos for myself, and it's one of them I printed because I'm like, I just love looking at it. It's everything I want to have nature, because we're way back in the Canadian Rockies, way out there, and it's just like there's this meadow that a few people know of that always has moose, because it has these mud, and the mud is all salt. So if you go there, you're going to see some moose. And I went there, and there's just like these 2 moose in there, and they're just walking out. I'm just like, it's just beautiful. It's just something I love looking at. But that one, and
I gotta find it. I'm like on a search right now to find it.
Yeah,
Is it on your website?
It's on my website. It's probably in the Canada album or in the Moose album. But I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking of other photos I've taken. And I, even one that I think about a lot that I remember never gained as much. People have bought it as prints, but online and never gained as much traction as I thought. But I have a photo of 2 elephants meeting. And I remember that one really struck me because it was a morning where we were watching 400 or 500 elephants, and it's chaotic. They're everywhere. Like the vehicle's shaking because there's so many elephants. But I see these 2 young ones going for each other, and they greet each other. They're like trumpeting. They link trunks. They're smiling, and I'm like, wow, it's such a precious moment in all this chaos. And that's when it's like, I think, because I was there, I remember it. It's like, oh, it was really special. But I don't know, online, people.
Oh, I see. Are they coming at each other like at a
Yeah.
deal?
Yeah, they're
It's
meeting
called
each other.
Chasing
I really
Titans.
like that one.
Oh no, Clashing Titans.
Yeah. Wait, what's that?
Is it called?
Oh no,
Clashing
that's a different
Titans?
one. Those
Oh,
are
okay.
fighting. There's a different one where it's like smiling, they're happy or something like that.
Oh, okay. And this
But-
one, Craig is really nice.
Yeah, Craig is cool. But that's the thing about
And-
photos, right? I mean, it's just like, all of us, like we take so many. It's kind of it's really hard to pin down one favorite because it's like, I like all the
For
animals.
sure.
Mm.
Do you have a preference? Because this is something I've always struggled with land wildlife, is like it's hard for me to set up a shot.
Mhm.
Like I feel like I'm better at reacting to things or like predicting animals' behavior because I can read them in the ocean, right? Like
Right.
if like you can either sense if something's going to breach, right? Like we all can do that sometimes, or we just see the patterns or what have you. But I feel like in land photography, like you can kind of set up your shot and like get landscapes in the background or like foreground blurred, background blurred. But I think with the ocean, you kind of just have to take whatever the animals give you, right? So do you have an affinity for land versus sea, or do you think they're the same, or do you love them both the same, or like where are you at?
I love them both. I mean, I like the challenges both present, because on land, it is different, right? When I'm with a land animal like moose, it's like I can see everything it's doing, unless it goes by
Yeah.
the bush and vanishes. It's like every
Yeah.
time it steps or moves, I'm watching it. The whales, it's fun because it is so much more challenging. What I appreciate so much more about ocean photography, I think, than land is, I think for all of us, we have access to something that most people don't. Anyone, like for example, can go to Yellowstone in their car, drive
Yeah.
around to the heart's content, walk around, do whatever. But when we're in a boat, I mean, think about how few people have access to a boat, especially as much as all of us do, and can go out there and
Yeah.
get those opportunities, right? I mean, people come in the boat and they expect to get great shots. And I'm thinking, for all of us, I know in the ocean, it takes hours, days, months, sometimes years to get a shot you're thinking of ever. I mean, you may never encounter it because, you have to not only get out on a boat, but then you have to get out to where the whales are. You have to hope the ocean cooperates. You have to hope the whales cooperate. And when all that comes together, you have to hope you're looking at the right area when that orca humpback breaches. Like, it's so challenging.
It is so challenging.
It is, right? It's so challenging. And that's what I like about ocean photography is like very few people can go do it. Very few people can get on a boat because most people don't own a boat, or they're not willing to spend so much money to charter a boat or go on all these tours. So that's when, like, man, the fact that we can all four of us can get on a boat as often as we do is great. But I have always told people, and I always say, I always throw it in earlier, like, I hope it doesn't offend anyone, but I'm like, I feel like I have photographer's ADD. And what I mean is, like, I can't shoot the same subject for too long, at least in a row. Like during orca season right now here in Monterey, when we typically see more orcas than we do, by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I'm bored of orcas. Like, let's go do something else. Let's go photograph, a leopard. Let's go photograph a dolphin, just something else. So that's why I like the mix of land and sea, because the ocean presents so many amazing possibilities and challenges. I love the challenge of the ocean, but I love when I go up to Alaska or Africa and just, you just walk around and you're like, all right,
just spend time. Yeah,
we're gonna spend time and we're gonna find that caribou. We're gonna find that bear. Like, we're gonna walk around and walk through the forest and see what shows up. You get a little bit more. I think on land you get a little bit more independence because you don't have to rely on a boat. Well, maybe not for Slater, who has his own boat. He's got a lot of independence.
Or you can drive around and look for a bobcat for a couple hours with your friends.
That's true. That's true.
And never find one.
It's okay. Just come to my house. Apparently, they hang out in my neighborhood.
There you go. Right.
We got to go back there and shoot those. The non-existent bobcats. But then we got to go back and look for those owls too.
We'll go do the owls and the bobcats, and we'll go do them at Caitlin's neighborhood. Apparently, over in Marina.
And once you get
right?
back,
They're all over the place.
Oh man. Do you have a favorite place that you like to photograph wildlife, like whether it's ocean or land, or do you just like them all for different reasons?
Yeah, I like the mix, but if I really had to pick, I mean, it'd probably have to be Africa. I mean, it's just, I still believe to this day, I think Africa is the single greatest travel destination on earth. I mean, I've talked about this with other photographers and travelers, that there's something weird when you go to Africa that you almost kind of feel like, you're like home, because, since we know, like, that's where, ancient humans evolved from.
Yep.
When you're over there, you're just like, you feel that you kind of feel like a strange connection to the land in a weird way. But you see so much, like when you go to Africa, like every day you're walking away with thousands of photos. Like, you go, all right, we just saw a pride of lions. We're going to go to the leopard. Okay. We're going to go to the cheetah right after. And then we're going to go to the elephants. Okay. And then we're going to break for breakfast. Then we're going to go right back out to the leopard and then the giraffe. It's like, you never have, like on the bay, you may spend hours driving around looking for something. I mean, Africa, it's kind of like you just go out and you see stuff every 5 minutes, just all over, and it's overwhelming. And I just love the photographic opportunities you get. I mean, it's mind blowing. I still hope one day I can spend months at a time in Africa and not have to come back, just go week by week, season by season. But, that could be a long ways off. That could be a long ways off. I do love Monterey though. I feel lucky to live where we do here. I mean, the fact that we get to live in Monterey or Santa Barbara, California, right? And I mean, look where we get to live, right? We get to live in an awesome spot and go see amazing things, like right off our doorstep. So it's kind of hard to beat here.
I agree.
Also have Carmel and Point Lobos that I feel like we don't extend down to enough. I mean, it's so easy to get stopped by the 80 whales that we have. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like
Yeah.
if we could get down to those backdrops more often than we do, like we really do have some insane backgrounds that we could take advantage of.
Well,
But
remember,
this summer we'll have
I-
to.
I tried going there and everyone made fun of us.
Yeah, you can't go there
That
during killer
was-
whale season. Actually, I could have told you that because last year I went all the way to Point Sur, and saw like 6 Rizzos, and then we came back up.
They had
We
orcas
did.
there. They had orcas at least twice.
I mean,
Oh, that's true.
this
It
picture
honestly
on the
was a good-
background of my phone
there we go.
is Carmel.
Right? Look how pretty that is. I
Hey, you
love
took
it.
that from the shore though.
So pretty.
No, that was from a boat.
No.
I
I was
took
like,
that
if
on the
that's
New
the
Horizon.
shore, that's the most amazing shore
Yeah.
photo of an orca.
Yeah,
ever.
what?
No, Caitlin did see them killing a gray whale from the beach there.
I did.
Yeah. I mean, it's great down there. That's why I was like, let's go down there. Because if
And
we
it
find
was
a
like-
whale and we get that background, it would be great.
It was the boats couldn't even get in there. It was most of the boats didn't go in there, but one chose.
Well,
to.
yeah, at one point they were like less than 400 yards from
what I'm
shore, and
saying,
like over there it gets real sketchy towards the shore. I wouldn't take a boat all the way in there where they were. No way.
Right. You know.
So, okay, so we warned you that we were going to ask you about like your most memorable wildlife encounters, but now we actually are going to ask you it 2 different ways.
Oh, super fun. Can't wait.
So, what's your favorite terrestrial wildlife encounter?
Oh.
It's like
favorite
on Mars.
Favorite
Not
what?
extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrial.
I'm just messing with you.
Oh my gosh. I feel like the terrestrial one changes kind of based on my mood. That one's the terrestrial one's really, really difficult. Man, what would that be? What would that be? I mean, I've had so many, like even this past summer,
I
when we
think I
were
know
out in Alaska, we just had, 50 bears to ourselves. Like we're just out there in the most beautiful meadow, 10 p.m. at night, 50 bears everywhere. Like that's amazing.
That's what I was gonna say. It's probably one of those encounters you told me about the bears just walking by you on the beach.
Yeah, just I'd
What?
just wake up and I'd go sit in the beach with coffee, and there'd be bears walking right by. That's
so
neat,
gnarly.
but man, it's probably one of my favorite terrestrial encounters. It's probably the one that means the most is the mountain gorillas. When I got the chance to do the mountain gorillas years ago,
Ooh, that's cool.
that one, I only have one tattoo, and it's a mountain gorilla on my ankle, and that's because I knew that was. I still probably say to this day that's probably the greatest wildlife experience any human can have. And
Really?
people have got an argument in, I always try to make the case because, when I went there to Africa and we did the mountain gorillas in Rwanda and Uganda, and, you're hiking up in this primeval jungle. The jungle is just so old, and the guides are cutting down stuff. There's no trails. You're just walking through the jungle and you have no idea where you are. And some days you're hiking for an hour. Some days you're hiking for 7 hours to get to these big gorillas. And then you get up to them and like everything just goes quiet. Your guides are quiet. And you're just surrounded by 20 to 50 gorillas, and they're looking at you. They're coming up. They're coming up and they're touching you. They kind of come up and they kind of touch your clothes. They touch your hair. They kind of investigate you. Meanwhile,
Wow.
while they're doing that, the big silverbacks are sitting back there and they're looking at you. They're just staring at you, making sure you're not going to hurt their family and their group and everything. And I've thought about the mountain gorillas probably more than any other wildlife experience I've had. And I'm just dying to go back. All I want to do is go back and do them again. The only problem is to go up and do the mountain gorillas for 1 hour. It costs $1,500 per person for 1 hour. So
Can you
Wow.
can you fit me in like your camera bag or something
Yeah.
so I can tag along or
yes, we'll put you in the camera bag. Let's do
okay,
that.
cool.
And then there's always a bunch of people you can hire. Like they're so kind, but there's what we call porters. And when you go on your mountain
Yeah.
gorilla trek, they line up a group of porters, and they go, okay, these porters are $10 for the day, and they're going to carry all your stuff. And they're going I'm like, well, I want to hire all of them because
Yeah.
$10 each. They all need work. So I'm like, you carry my camera, you can carry my bag, you can carry my water bottle. Let's go.
That's
So
awesome.
it's amazing.
Oh,
So I there's not one thing with the mountain gorillas that was the greatest, but it's like the whole experience of doing the mountain gorillas in Rwanda and Uganda. Still this day, I keep looking for other wildlife encounters that are going to trump it, from the gray whales to bears to polar bears, but I'm like, nothing's come close. And I think because we are 98.6% related, it's like you just feel like you're sitting next to something that like we're so closely related to. It's insane.
It took me a while to find them on your Instagram. I had to
Oh,
scroll
yeah, I
down
don't-
pretty far to find one.
Yeah, I don't have too many photos of them. That's
They
why I
were
want
like
to
That's-
super curious, right? And they were like just all about you.
What's that?
You said they were super curious
Mhm.
and just kind of all about you.
Yeah, yeah, no, some of the young ones kind of pay attention, and then we'd go to a certain group. Like we went one day to a troop of or group of that had 40 gorillas and had 3 males, 3 silverbacks, and the number 2 and 3 silverback in charge are really aggressive because they want to be in charge. So when the people come up, they use the people as like punching bags. So like they'll run over your feet and then like they'll stand there and they'll back kick you and like they'll like look right at you and they'll like pound their chest and you're like, this thing could rip my arm off and throw it in the tall grass. You're never gonna see it again. It's terrifying. But it's exhilarating, because they're just and the guides are right behind you and they're like, don't move, don't move, don't move, be quiet, look down, like don't move. Because the gorilla is like standing on your foot and they're pretty much just like, don't make a sound or that thing it'll get you, So,
That's
Chest
pretty
Sounds
exhilarating.
terrifying.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's astounding, okay, is anyone else going to share one or is it on to the ocean side?
Nope.
Oh, well, this is all about you.
I don't have any terrestrial encounters, so
Oh, no extra trust. That's where we got to get you out in there and land a little bit more, Adam.
I know,
mean,
man.
I went
I
to
think-
Yellowstone, so I have some.
I think Yellowstone's pretty incredible, especially if like you live in the US. Like that's one of the greatest
Yeah.
places to see wildlife in the lower 48.
I mean, the fact that we can just go to
Never
Yellowstone,
been.
take a flight from California to Yellowstone and be there in like 2 hours, it's amazing. I mean, there's so much to see there. If we take Adam to Yellowstone, he'll never want to look at another whale in his life.
Like
It
I'm
would
taking
probably-
a
I don't know
bison
about that.
photography.
I was the only thing I was sad about with one of my favorite encounters in Yellowstone with the 2 grizzly bears is that like we drove past the area and there was no one there, and then it was like on our way back and it's like, oh, there's a bear. How do you know? There's 1,000 people lined up on the side of the road, and then there's people out there directing traffic with their stings. You know what I mean? And it's just
Mhm.
like it was like really cool to watch them, but then it kind of is just like everyone's watching them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So it made it a little less special, but it was, I mean, it's still really cool.
Some people say it takes away from the wilderness when you're in Yellowstone. There's 1,000 cars, you're getting a bear jam, and you're just
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're watching
I
from
can
the
see that.
road. And that's why it's like, when I go there, it's like I do like to get off road. I like to go on the trails. I know where the animals are. Go on the dirt roads where you're not going to see people. I mean, there's a bear jam is fun, but it's a lot of people, man. So I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I think probably my most memorable terrestrial encounter is from Yellowstone as a kid.
Sure.
Is we're in a bison traffic jam because they're all crossing the road. And then we had seen a grizzly bear like, I don't know, 15 minutes before we got stuck in the traffic. And I don't know if it was the same bear or a different bear, but a grizzly bear came running down the hill at the bison. The bison like went between us and the car in front of us, and the bear went behind us between us and the car behind us.
Mm.
And then like the bear jumped on the bison on the other side of the street, and then the bison kicked it and it ran off up into the next hill. And I was like, what just happened?
That's gnarly.
And
Brain
we
is
had like
crazy.
disposable little wind up film
Right.
cameras, like not got zero footage of the event. And
Well,
my
you
gra-
see it, right? You have the
Yeah.
mental image.
and
That's
my
all it is.
grandma's like, I'm just glad I didn't let you guys get out of the car to look at the bison, because she's like,
Right.
I almost was
The
about to
bear.
just put it in park and let you get out. And then the bear came running down the hill.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. There's so much
Yeah.
stuff you can see there. So you'll have to have like a whale nerds honorary trip to Yellowstone.
I don't know if we're whale nerds at that point, but I'm down.
Well, the whale nerds can go there. Like it's like the whale nerds on vacation.
Oh,
you know?
go.
Oh, I see.
The whale
You don't
nerds
have
on
to ask me
vacation.
twice.
Right.
Twist my arm.
All right, but back to reality, the real animal. What's your favorite marine wildlife encounter?
Okay, that one's easier because that one's always stayed the same. That one hasn't deviated in about 20 years. Okay, my favorite marine encounter to this day was definitely not necessarily the best for photos, but it's something that I'm just also like probably never going to happen again as long as I live. When I was younger, would have been about 11 or 12. No, yeah, about 11 or 12. we my family chartered a sailboat out of British Columbia up in the like inside passage out of Port Hardy, which is on the northern tip of Vancouver Island.
Yep.
And we chartered it for over a week to go follow the northern resident orcas around.
That's cool.
You know, follow around that area up there and, you know, go see bears and whatever else we could see. And it was a great trip. I mean, we saw Luna. Remember the famous Luna orca?
Oh, you did? Really?
Yeah, we saw Luna. She, you know, or he touched over a boat. The Canadian, I don't know what you call it, Canadian Coast Guard, police, no, whatever the equivalent is in Canada, raced over like, you have to leave. You can't be around this.
It's probably DFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So whatever they're called, you know, it was a bummer, but I mean, we saw orcas all the time. It was one of the best trips we've ever had. But like one night we're anchored out somewhere middle of the islands, and you know, and we're sitting there at night, and it's, you know, it's like August, so you know the sun's not going down till like 9:30, 10. You know, it's way up there.
Yeah.
You know, it stays light pretty late, so it's like maybe 9 o'clock, and you know, we're sitting there finishing off the night, and the captain of the sailboat would always leave the hydrophone in to kind of listen, just always listen around, and he starts hearing the orcas. We start hearing these orcas kind of start to chime up. You know, we start hearing them like coming. He goes, oh, he gets all excited. He's like, oh my God, that's a power falling. It was one of the bigger pods. I think they were called like the iPod, which is kind of funny because they always called them the iPod because the iPod just came out, and they like iPod were super energetic. They were like a lot. They were like really friendly. They were like a really good pod to watch up in the northern residence. And he looks at us and he's like, hey, it's a full moon. Let's get in the little dinghy. Let's go out and see him. We're like, all right, sure. That sounds really fun. So we get in this, I mean, little tiny dinghy, 4 of us. I mean, it's like, I don't know, maybe 8-9 feet. It's really tiny. And he putters us out to the main channel where he thinks the orcas are coming down, you know, because that's where we left him. We saw him going that way. So it seems like they're coming back. And we get out there and we turn off the engine, and he goes, okay. He's like, you know, you can kind of see stuff around because it's a full moon. It's not quite dark, right? Like the sun had just set maybe 20-30 minutes ago. So what do they call it? I think they call that nautical twilight, right? You know, right before
Civil twilight.
Yeah, there's civil twilight, nautical twilight, astronomical twilight. So it's like light enough to see. And we're sitting there, and a couple minutes go by, and the next thing we know, a bull orca pops up like 2 feet from the boat. Like, I mean, we're sitting in the dinghy, a foot off the water, and there's a bull orca right next to us. And then
That's
like
so cool.
it's like they want to dive. All of a sudden, 30 orcas are around the dinghy.
Whoa.
And they're not just passing. 2 of the females, spy hop like right next to the boat. Like, I
Oh
mean,
my
eyeball
God.
is now above my head. And
Sounds
the
like a
orcas are right there. I mean, like arm's reach. I don't mean like 100. I mean like right next to the boat. They're looking at it. And for about maybe a good, I don't know, 6 to 10 minutes, these orcas kind of just keep breathing, keep popping around the boat. They probably spy up about 15 times. You know, the bull, you're seeing all of it because it's still kind of bright enough to see it, and they're right there. And then they eventually just kind of slid off and moved on. And the captain of the boat, who's, you know, native British Columbian, has been doing this his whole life. I mean, he's in tears. Like he's completely lost like the ability to speak and everything. And that to the day is still just one of those things where I'm like, that's never going to happen again, right? I mean,
Wow.
to be out in this
Dude,
channel under a full moon, surrounded by these northern residents, I'm like, it was just magic. I mean, it really.
That's putting Jeff's story to shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had our
It's
buddy
tough.
Jeff Friedman had a similar story with, I think it was southern residents, might have been northern residents, but wow, that is absolutely incredible. Like I can't even imagine what you felt like. I hope you were crying too.
I wasn't crying because I was a kid, so it's like I knew it was
Oh, I
exciting.
gotcha. Yeah.
But as an adult, I think it would have had a lot different meaning. You know, the only problem
sure.
with that memory is that I told people is I wish I was older, because if I was older, I feel like I'd have a stronger recollection. Or if I was older, I'd have one of these fancy new iPhones that can film at night. So I'd have recorded the whole thing. But no, we only had film cameras. But I mean, it was just something I think about so much. I'm like, it's like out of a dream. I mean, it felt like out of a dream, but we knew it wasn't a dream. There were 4 of us there, so we all remember it the same way.
It's so crazy, dude.
You know, so. All right, but you know, I don't know if the Whale Nerds listeners have heard it, but are you guys going to return the favor, or at least one of you going to return the favor?
I don't
Oh,
know if
man.
ours are cool enough, bro.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know. How do you
I-
follow that? Holy
Everyone
moly.
has a different story. Everyone has a different story that
Yeah,
means something to
but
them.
I feel like
That's
I
Yeah, but it's not like that.
Mine
It's
are
not a
not
competition.
magical. Like I've had some lucky encounters with rare stings happening, but no, like I don't know, nothing that makes me want to cry at night and in the morning. You know what I mean?
You know, well, it doesn't have to be that because, like, I don't believe in the whole spiritual side. I don't think, when people go out and they're like, oh, these animals are here to lift my spirits, to serve me. Like I'm gonna, like, we have people go out with the gems and they hold the gems out. They're thinking they're absorbing the animal's energy. Like, no, it's just they're animals. Like, enjoy them, but they're out doing their thing. So it's like it felt like magic, but it's like it just was night and they're swimming by and it was very cool. So it's like if you guys have encounters that were like, wow, that means a lot to me, I like to hear it. Or maybe you're
I mean,
listening.
I definitely do. And it was recent. It was the encounter I had with the 51s off of
Right?
Santa Cruz Island. And it was like I've seen that family probably 24 times over the past couple years, and it's like, they're the friendly pod for a reason, but
Right.
when they like actively take interest in you
Mhm.
versus just like doing what they're doing,
Right.
like I think that's when I feel like most connected to them.
Mhm.
And it's like the conditions couldn't have been better, right? We had a pod of the whole 51 matcher line. It was
Mhm.
Star and Aurora and all their kin and everybody, and in perfect conditions, right? And like Comet was just going ballistic. She was just like spy hopping on this side of the boat, then she'd go to the other side of the boat, spy hop there. And it's not like, spy hops where they're hunting, and they're
Right.
celebrating. She was like actively looking you in the eyes.
Right.
And
Right.
I think encounters like that, and like you were saying, these whales are spy hopping around you. And I think honestly, spy hopping is probably my favorite,
Oh, yeah.
behavior that these whales do. It's like when they actually look at you instead of just looking around, like that's a completely different feeling, I think.
Well, that's so cool. You got that
And
with
I
the
don't know,
51.
that's one that stands out.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
got that with the
exactly. It's a
family.
family
That's
we all
so
know
cool.
really well.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
that's
the
definitely
51
mine. And
brought all of us joy, right? I mean, like they've been up in Monterey, Santa Barbara. It's like
yeah,
they're a family that brings so many people, passionate whale nerds, like
they really are.
greatest level of joy because they're so fun to watch. I
Yeah,
mean,
they really are.
you probably that there may not be an encounter with the friendlies that's better than the one you had. You know, I have to turn on this phone and this other computer here.
Good.
Hey, I got something to say.
Anyway, yeah.
I have this.
so-
We had this really cool encounter on April 21st with the CA-51s. Just a couple of whale nerds. Someone was supposed to be on my boat that day, actually. Dude, I was supposed to take Chase out that day.
I know.
It was written down. Slater, he had pulled up the calendar and he said, "All right, Chase, the 8th and the 21st."
And my boat
Go on.
broke.
What's that?
My boat broke.
Yeah, we went for the 8th, not the 21st. I was so sad.
I know. What was up with that? What was up with the 21st?
It was my birthday.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah, but that wasn't
We-
why. Like we did that in the morning. We went to breakfast.
Went to breakfast and then somebody called that there's orcas right in front, and so
Yeah.
Had to go out see Caitlin's lucky birthday workers, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
and they
it's her
came right,
birthday.
and we got good looks. They came right across my bow.
We got the
like-
best looks, and then we left.
I felt rude. We came in and like Slater's like, "You drive," and I was like, "Okay." And then like we got 4 really great looks and then left.
That's
Oh,
like my.
God.
Yeah.
That's my every time. No, not every time, but like that's my like 3rd time now or 4th where I've left the harbor. Because like if they're in front of the harbor, it's kind of easy to get down there. It's like 2 minutes, like literally past the MLA
Yeah.
buoy, right? And there was like the time where it was just Tim Zolanak out there, and the sea lion was trying to jump on his boat. And like again, I got like really good looks, and then they left. And then I went in. And then like this last time with them, got really good looks. We went in. Then one time with Andrew from Discovery, we went out there. Orion charged at the boat, turned on his side, and like waked the boat. And Andrew actually like fell over on the boat because he was like, "Ah, you're so happy." He literally almost fell like he wasn't gonna fall off the boat. He fell into the boat. And then I went in like right after that encounter because it was like kind of bumpy, I think, or something. But like I've had a few times where we get out of the harbor and it's just like. And then we had that time with Adam, not with those, where we got out of the harbor. And we didn't even get out of the
Yeah.
harbor, and Kate and Adam were like, pretty sure those killer whales. And it was like, sea lion goes flying, definitely killer whales. And then we pull up to them, and they ate a sea lion in like 2 seconds. And then we got to follow them all the way out of the bay.
Right.
And they flung jellies in the air. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like I know there's this orca craze, right? And people are obsessed with them. And I definitely see that, and I've tried to like hone back my excitement for them. But I do think like a lot of people connect to those animals, and I think they're probably the smartest creature in the sea, and we're the smartest creatures on land, and I think there's some
Are we,
respect there
though?
that you have to. No, I mean, to an extent, I agree. I don't think we are. I realistically don't think we are, but to an extent, I mean, and
I heard you were
I don't
only
know.
mildly excited to see him on Sunday. Adam.
Adam,
No,
yeah, he was
I
only a
freaked
little
out.
bit
What do you mean?
excited.
I literally Slater was like swinging down through the cabin.
Yeah,
I
Adam, we're
like,
being sarcastic. You were out of control.
I
You
bonked
almost
my
hit
head.
the
I bonked my
button.
head.
Yeah,
I
you
did.
freaking-
I bonked my head.
I was walking up the stairs and he just was like, boom, and I was like, where you going? He's like, it went by so fast. I didn't even know we had killer whales. I was just grabbing or putting the sandwiches out.
They're pretty cool. I
Uh,
don't know. They're all right.
you guys saved the day again. That was the perfect way to end that weekend.
Oh man, I
Perfect
think
way. Yeah.
everybody was hurting for him
And
at that point.
I'm glad you guys got those really good looks when they were porpoising, because you guys were in the perfect position, and I hope your people got. I know Delaney got a really cool shot.
Yeah,
your other
no, we
people got
had a
some
few
shots
good
too.
minutes. We had a few good minutes. Hard to believe though. I know the weather's been bad. Hard to believe no one has seen him since Sunday. Like the last orcas that we spotted. were
Yeah,
when they
where's that
disappeared on
one?
Sunday.
What?
That's Nick.
What did we smell 2 days ago when we went? Smelled so strong,
Yeah,
like
that's
blubber.
true.
And then this morning was really strong, huh?
I
That
think,
was.
I think it's a
Do
sea
you-
lion. I
yeah.
think it's a sea lion.
Well, or do you think
Yeah.
it's a sea lion eating a salmon? Because salmon are really oily,
Man, this today was strong. Whether
like
it's,
blubber smell.
yeah,
we,
like
we
today
all
was.
thought it was very blubber. It seemed more blubbery.
Even
you
Tim
know.
and Joey, they were like, it smells. Like everybody thought it smelled. Actually, I don't know what Joey said, but Tim for sure said it.
So speaking of orcas, Chase, you had an encounter last year where you got some incredible shots of them porpoising and like glassy water, right? And then I think you had another encounter which is just like super glassy water, and you did this post and you were talking about like certain photographs that you want. You had an orca in glassy water and you got a photograph of it coming up before it broke the surface of the water, right? And in your post you were talking about like every photographer has like a shot list or like dream shots that we all have. Do you have like a holy grail of something that you are hoping to see one day that you can capture exactly how you want to capture it?
Of just orcas specifically, or
No, or just in general.
I mean, definitely a lot. Like, there's definitely a few shots. I mean, it's like, like I would absolutely again love to be able to photograph, like humpbacks, especially in Alaska. Like, dream shots of mine is I have these images in my head of thinking about a humpback in Alaska breaching in like the soft light condition, where it's like, early morning, late evening, kind of when it's summer and the sun's up high, and it's kind of filtering in through the clouds, and the water in the southeast Alaska is so glassy. And I always think about the shot in my head of this humpback just breaching out of the glassy water where you can see the reflection, and you get those beautiful spruce trees and evergreen trees in the background, and the cedars and the mountains or glaciers. I'm like, oh, that's a humpback breach I'm dying to get. And that's one I think about a lot because we photograph humpbacks so frequently. That's one that I want to get. Like, the humpbacks in Maui are so fun to photograph, but I still think the backdrop in Alaska is just, I just don't think there's a
it's
backdrop
like
anywhere in the world.
I remember photographing them in Maui, and I was like, "Oh, there's so many boats in the background," or like
a lot of boats, right? A lot of buildings, and you can sometimes see the little farm fields or cane sugar fields in the back.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, I love Maui. Maui's beautiful, but Alaska just looks so rugged.
You can get shots with nothing though in Maui for sure.
No, I agree.
Up against
we did
Lanai and stuff, you can get good shots.
Yeah,
right. You definitely can. What about you guys? Do you guys have shots you're like, oh, that's one I want to get? Like, you guys have pictured in your head, or?
I feel like I used to, but I'm kind of losing them all. I think I'm retiring.
Doing too many videos. Too many
we're just
videos.
salmon fishermen now, Chase and I. So
True.
we're canceling all trips.
Actually, I do have another dream shot. I have a dream shot of Slater holding a salmon, and there's a little sign that says Slater's first salmon on it. And that's a dream shot.
No, I actually, you know what? I do have some shots that I want, and they actually are right here in California in Point Lobos. There, Whalers Cove, or like those little coves in that corner.
Right.
I want I had killer whales there before at sunset, and I just have their blows like lit up with that orange, like lighting coming through them. But I would like to get some sort of activity from any animal there, like whatever. It could be a gray whale breaching. Although I
Right.
prefer it not be a gray whale, maybe a killer whale, but even dude, I mean, even like a blue whale, especially if you get a good angle where you could get all that rock formation and some trees, and then like sunset in the background, like anything, if you could angle it out of that like zone, towards the sunset would be pretty awesome.
That would be great.
And then if you could also make it glassy, make it pretty easily, like happen a couple times, so you can for sure get the shot.
Man, you should have been here
Yeah,
in
we're
like
just-
2014 when the whales were all down there.
I
have
they're
a
down
few
there
shots.
now, I think we gotta go.
There were, I did see some outside of Sillamar today, but yeah, that one year we had some beautiful weather and nice sunset trips down in Carmel. I have a few photos from down there. I was like I had zero practice as a photographer, but
Are you gonna miss going to Carmel if you're only going on a Moss?
Eh.
Yeah.
I got one more shot.
Yeah.
And I already have the shot, but it was like with a 5D3, and I didn't really know anything about photography. I guess I did know. I guess I was actually already pursuing it more professionally, but it just isn't going to happen again because we're never going to get like 10 whales lunch feed at the same time at sunset. It's just not possible.
Oh, it'll happen.
Dude, I've been trying for years.
This could be the year. I mean, the fact that we're still getting so many whales staying in Monterey is kind of insane.
We saw so many today. Like, there's so many. By the way, which Chase is like, because he's focused on catching a fish. This is like his new craze. Like, literally, we had a whale, a humpback today, dancing like with kelp all over itself. And I'm trying to like tie a line. I'm trying to go. I'm running to get my camera. Then I'm putting my camera down. Then I'm doing this. And then I was like, I gave up on trying to get a video of it. I think Kate shot some photos of it, but it's literally throwing kelp around with its tail. And we're like less than 100 feet from the boat. And we're just like all like, but it was rough. It was super rough. Like all the trips were canceled today, but like no passengers on the boat. We can go and like,
Yeah.
Although those Monterey boats might have been okay today if they just were willing to go look for whales right by the 1 mile buoy. I was sitting at Otter Point at like 11 a.m. and I was like, oh, a gray whale just went by the squid boats. And then 2 humpbacks started breaching for like 30 minutes straight.
Gray whales?
One gray whale went by, and then in the distance behind it, there was 2 humpback whales breaching for
humpbacks
half hour.
breaching. Oh, I was like, wow, you saw a gray whale breaching this time of year? I'm like, that's insane.
No.
That's one of the coolest things I remember we actually saw as a kid from that area, actually Cannery Row, was when I was, oh God, I would have been like 12. We were eating at El Torito on Cannery Row, and we had no idea it was at the time. You know who we actually asked? We actually asked Nancy Black. My mom asked her, but when we were sitting there, we saw orcas jumping on a gray whale off there, but we had no idea what was going on. And little did we know, this would have been about 2004. This is right at the kelp, and we were like, wow, why are those orcas jumping over these gray whales? Like, are they playing? And then when my mom was curious, she posed questions, threw them an email or called them or something. And they were like, oh yeah, they eat gray whales. Like, we had no idea. It's like, wow, well,
So
never
funny.
seen that again.
Yeah,
Chase just
they are not
accidentally
playing.
Stumbles upon
No.
a gray whale kill.
Yeah, what the
I've
heck? I've been going to
seen
Monterey
videos from
every
there
year
and
for
humpback.
5 years.
Casual, just off El Torito, no
Hey,
big
I
deal.
tried to get them to go to El Torito the other day, and they were like, "No, it's like whatever."
I suggested it.
I know. I wanted to go too, and they were all
I'll go-
against it. And
I'll
literally,
go- I love El Torito. To be
yeah,
honest,
that's what I
it's
dude
fine.
told you, Adam. It's good. I don't know what the heck everybody's doing.
All right, we'll try it. I'll try it next time I'm in town. And if
It's
I don't
one of
like
the-
it,
don't have
then I'm
very
gonna
many
cry.
options
So
here.
much. I've seen Casper from El Torito. I've seen humpbacks. I've seen blue whales from El Torito. Like, you just go
Yeah.
sit there, you see all these animals.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, you
I've
got those
seen-
huge windows.
Yeah.
You just get to
While
look out.
dining there, I've seen harbor seals, sea lions, sea otters, bottlenose dolphins, Rizzo's dolphins, humpback whales, gray whales. And I don't even dine there that often.
So now this is so this is the part where we go, when you wrap up, Well Nerds Up Podcast episode 109, sponsored by El Torito, right?
Yeah, sponsored by a free burrito, right?
Yeah, free
Just
chips,
hook us
free
up
broth,
on Taco
margarita.
Tuesday, okay?
Dude, we
No,
used to
that's
go
right.
with Kate on Tuesdays.
Yep, we
Chase.
did.
We need to bring that back now that COVID's
Well,
like.
unfortunately, I
subsided a
won't be
little.
here Tuesday, so you're gonna have to wait 1 week.
Not this next Tuesday.
Yeah,
We
not
need
this
to-
coming Tuesday.
Mickey
We'll wait
Mouse
till you
plan.
get back from your trip.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So Okay, so when you're guiding trips and when you're doing photography, do you like, I don't know if you normally do this as part of your programming, or like, do you feel obligated in part of your education information you give people to like talk about conservation, or like, do you ever feel like you have a good avenue to like do conservation messaging through photography? Like, I just don't like, where do you consider yourself at with that kind of stuff?
No, absolutely. You know, both on trips and obviously, you know, after licensing or selling them. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest parts. Like, I mean, you know, the only reason I or really any of us can do what we do is because we have places that are protected, because we've decided, well, we're going to conserve and preserve these wild spaces like Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, Yellowstone, you know, Serengeti National Park in Africa. We have to put them aside for future. So I feel very strongly about, you know, making sure we always think about, all right, like we're coming here, we're using this land, we're photographing these animals, we are in their space where we technically don't belong, but you know, as long as we, you know, head into this environment with a decent level of respect and admiration for the area that we are, and you know, just I guess show some sort of appreciation that we have access to these lands. Yeah, I always like to include that, you know, in any kind of storytelling or when we're actually on trips. You know, I don't want to, of course, shove it down people's throat, because I've heard people try to get so deep into conservation where it almost seems to get to the point where they make people feel bad about, you know, oh, well, we're out the whales, so we're affecting them so much with all the boat, you know, boat noise, you know, something like that. And that sometimes I think gets a little overboard, because it's like, you know, you need people coming out, right? The funds going into it, or is kind of what helps, you know, keep it going, helps inspire people to say, oh, I really like that humpback, I want to make sure they're always around, you know.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
right, I mean, conservation huge. I mean, I'm so thrilled when I think about, you know, the national parks or marine sanctuaries, you know, America has put aside, you know, where we can actually go out and enjoy them. I wish there were more, but we have a good amount, right? We have a decent amount of
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
Good.
Well, I think we could probably talk story all night about tacos and salmon and
Probably.
whale stories, but before we wrap up the episode, so if people want to enjoy your work or go on a trip with you, or figure out what other things you're up to and doing, what are the best ways for people to find you on the internet?
Yeah. We can always go to my website, chasedekker.com, you know, Chase Dekker. And yeah, you know, if people feel like they don't want to be, you know, a nerd, they want to be a cool kid, they can always come in my boat, you know, on trips, or if they just feel like separating.
Yeah, Chase Dekker,
Or
cool
go
kid.
see some land animals with you.
Or some land animals. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. So just for the purpose of this, I will no longer be doing whales. It's only
Thank you.
sunfish and land animals.
Salmon fishing
Well,
and
you
land
don't have
animal
to-
photography.
You don't have to pick the same
That's it.
weekend that we're picking, you know?
Right, exactly.
Chase is
I'm-
actually moving to Vermont, so he said
I
he's gonna
am.
let us
Dude,
have
Chase-
all the whales, and he's going to Africa only.
Dude, Chase is gonna
Yeah.
run a freaking trip in October, isn't he?
You know,
Better not be in
October.
October
San
in the San Juan Islands, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Chase is gonna be there. It's like,
no, wait.
I'm
I
also
got
with
my
Wise
calendar.
Legacy.
Hold on. Can you remind me of this dates again? Oh, Friday the 23rd.
No, I
Boats-
can't
the
actually.
boats are
Saturday
already
and
booked.
Sunday the
You can't
23rd.
even- You
Okay.
can't even book it if you want to.
Yeah, they only have
Nerds
2 boats, and we
are
got them.
in San Juan. You know? Okay, perfect.
Why don't you come up? You know, you could come up and I'll say in the morning. You guys could hang out with Chase Dekker when
You
he's
can
in
you can
Foxes.
book our trip if
Hey,
you
why
want.
don't you buy a ticket? We'll give you a 5% discount.
Okay, that sounds swell. You know, that sounds really swell. You know, I can't wait to do that. I'll in October. Slater says I have to be looking for my new house in Vermont. You know, because that's a good time to be there. So
I'm kicking him out.
October
of
is
the
a great
bay.
time to be in Vermont.
October,
Fall
only be-
colors.
beautiful, right? You know what I'm talking about.
There can only be one whale photographer here, Chase. It's me.
No, no. They can keep doing your guys' whale nerds trips, and then when they want to go see some cool animals that
Whoa,
aren't big
dude.
fish, like moose and you know, bears and lions, like the cool stuff. Well,
The
now they know where to find me.
disrespect.
You know, right?
I tell the whales that tomorrow. when I
Wow, we
get
tried
out-
to do a
when I
nice
get out
thing for
before
you, Chase, and you just had to do that to us.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. You know?
Never have you
I
on the
love the whale
podcast
nerd.
ever again.
Why do you think I put my weekend the same weekend as you guys? I was like, man, how cool is this? Go out on a boat and I can follow the whale nerds around because they're always going to find the coolest stuff. 'Cause
Hey,
again,
we
I'm the
did.
dash of ocean
You
Ah.
actually did though.
Right. You know, when you're an ocean geek, you got to follow the whale nerds, and you guys deliver. Only so everyone listening to this podcast, my weekend would have flopped if not for the whale nerds and their valiant efforts and eagle eyes.
There you
Finding
go.
The big orca pie. So see,
Captain Kate, she saved the day.
You're
you guys
welcome.
did. You guys did. You know.
Oh man.
So exactly.
Well, if y'all are still listening at this point, definitely check out Chase's work. And if you want to go on a really cool land animal experience, he's got all kinds of fun trips that he runs. And yeah, thanks for listening this far, supporting our podcast. You can follow our work on our website, thewhalenerds.com, or on social media. We're on at Whale Nerds. We've got that trip coming up in October, and all the video versions of our episodes from episode 100 onwards are on our YouTube, so you can see Chase's lovely face. We even gave him a cool Whale Nerds background for this one.
And no
Honorary
adventure
whale nerd.
hat.
No
No,
adventure hat for this
Face
one.
with no adventure hat.
Maybe next time.
Being eliminated from life.
Or send us your adventure hat photo and we'll use that as the thumbnail
Oh,
for
I
the episode.
screenshotted it.
I'll send you the today. I'll send you the selfie.
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you, Chase. And thank you to everybody that's listening.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.